Quick test.
Click test.
Clit test.
Lick the clit test.
Do it.
Too much?
Too much.
Hi, hello. Welcome to Mary's Cup of Tea, the self-love podcast for women, though all self-lovers are welcome here. I'm Mary. I write and speak about self-love, and I'm best known for my book, The Gift of Self-Love, and I also host retreats for women. And this is the podcast that will inspire you to love yourself.
Hey, husband. Happy
Hello.
7-year anniversary.
Cheers to that.
We made it this far.
Yeah, and counting. Oh, this is tasty. It's green tea.
Yeah, just really light jasmine. I'm trying to watch our caffeine.
I don't think I ever asked you, but I'm curious. Where did Mary's love for tea originate from?
I feel like you know this. You're just trying to prompt an interview, which I love. Well, we always had tea with my grandparents and stuff. Like after every meal, we always had tea, but it was black tea. We didn't have green tea as much. That's more your family.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, did I ever tell you the difference between why does half the world call it tea and the other half calls it cha or chai?
Something with inland and...
Yeah, tea if it came by the sea, chai if it came by land. So India calls it cha, Russia, Slavic culture calls it chai because it came from India and China mainly by land. But then the Brits, South America, Spanish, it's always tea or te because it came through the sea.
Good to know.
I think that's a great fun fact to drop at a cocktail party or a tea party.
Or a tea party, exactly.
Well, I wanted to do this episode talking about 7 sweet or somewhat pivotal moments that shaped our marriage. And I was telling you that I was a little worried about picking my 7 favorite moments was so much pressure because there have been so many moments and I didn't want to rank them. But I did think about a few. I'm going to share 4 and you're going to share 3-ish. But there's so much more that I have, honestly.
Yeah, I'm glad you gave that disclosure because it's really difficult to go back through 7 years. And you and I have had quite the active 7 years, whether it be in Arizona, in the U.S., or abroad. We have so many memories.
And the man came with notes. Let's see your
took some
printout.
time. Yes, I have one paper.
But it's dense. I also have some notes here. So should I just start?
I was going to compliment your office. I know that's off topic, but I rarely walk in here. And it's either you by yourself or sometimes Zeus. I find Zeus in here as well.
Zeus is always in here. I mean, it's so beautiful. Thanks for letting me take over this space.
Yeah, you did a fantastic job.
It's so perfect. The colors in it are so soothing. It makes me so happy. It makes me so proud, finally, to sit and record somewhere. And I actually like the energy in here.
Absolutely. And did you tell everyone about the cabin?
I told everyone about the cabin. I think that's one of the things people probably want to know is buying a house together, renovations together, what we're envisioning for it, how's that been? So I did a 2-part announcement post and I was a big shift is coming in part 2. And I'm pretty sure everybody expected me to announce a pregnancy, but I kind of loved not doing that, especially as a woman, because people expect a woman's biggest news to be either engagement, marriage, or pregnancy, and they don't get as celebrated for graduation, starting a business, milestones, buying property. And so I kind of loved that little, I guess, plot twist if somebody's following me on social media that there are other things to birth besides a baby.
Right, there you go. Well, seeing what you did with The Office gave me that much more confidence of everything that you've done and will do with the cabin. It's coming out gorgeous.
Well, that relates to one of my things, actually. So I guess this is a good segue.
Okay.
Well, one of my favorite, I couldn't pick one specific moment, but I was thinking about what I, when I feel we bond. And of course, we have so many memories of, you said, traveling and milestones and celebrations and all of that is obviously very sexy and glamorous, but some of my favorite moments where I feel really understood is when you help me pick outfits. When we were first getting ready for our first trip to Italy, it was kind of a whirlwind of a summer. So let's back up. I went to Bali for 6 weeks, came back, brought home the flu, got you sick, you were down, but we had this trip booked to Italy because it was also your birthday and I thought we should travel together. I had the huge travel bug when we first met. And I remember like in between all of that, like not feeling well and then preparing for this trip to Italy, you took me to Nordstrom Rack like the day before we were supposed to fly out to Rome. And we had picked up some outfits. And I guess like I've never ever done that before, like planning outfits for a trip. And I think what motivated that was that we vowed to only travel with a carry-on, right? We didn't want to check bags. So you were like, knowing that you need to be prepared, knowing what you're going to wear every single day. So you took me to Nordstrom Rack, and then we even popped into Lululemon and we bought a pair of full price leggings, which you bought for me. I still wear them all the time.
I rolled out the red carpet.
You did.
I said full price, retail, go for it.
Well, so this brings me to an important point. I thought, similar to like our first breakfast together where you layered on a full half an avocado on one piece of toast, and I looked at this avocado with toast underneath and thought, wow, this man is rich.
And it wasn't a small avocado. It was the Haas?
The Haas,
the extra large, baby.
Yeah. Well, I had this moment where I was like, oh, like maybe he has a little bit of money to spend. And then when it came to the Italy trip and prepping, I was like, oh, he's just trying to impress me. Like, buy me a pair of leggings. Like, what man hasn't done that for a woman he's
little
courting?
Did she know this man has no money?
Well, aside from that, little did I know that over the next 7 years, every trip, every event, every retreat, every talk I'm giving, if I'm going to a concert with a friend, if I'm just grabbing dinner, but especially if it's an overnight trip, you will sit for hours in our bedroom and agonize over every single piece of clothing, putting together outfits for every single part of the day. And you will not give up until my whole wardrobe and my whole suitcase is packed. You've even gone as far as packing for me, especially when I was dealing with my back pain and stuff leading up to the last retreat. And I wrote that as one of my favorite moments, is just you helping me pick outfits. And that relates to my office. One more thing. I'm clearly nervous talking right now.
Just keep it going. I'll just sit back and listen to all these
beautiful man is in my office, and then all the cameras are on. Okay, branching off of that, my first, and then so that was my first point, and then I put 1.5, like the 1.5 thing.
I wouldn't expect anything less.
Is it's the same way with our home decor and furniture and remodeling. I know you don't care that much about paint colors. You would be totally fine with, you know, the cheaper stuff at Home Depot, whatever off-white looks okay, or whatever flooring, or any of those decisions. But you are just in the thick of it with me, and even more so, you never make me feel like I'm too much, or your dad called me whiny. Like I'm too whiny for these little decisions.
He loves you. Let's just put
he
that
does.
out there.
He does.
Yeah, very much so.
It was a joking thing. Still, he called me whiny, and then you told him off. You kind of like stuck up for me in a unserious, nonchalant way. We were like, "Hey, Dad, like you're calling her whiny now, but you're gonna be coming over all the time, and you're never gonna want to leave because our kitchen is so beautiful."
Right. Yeah. Well, back to the packing. I think till this day, we still need to plan outfits. I think that just makes the trip so much more smoother, as opposed to just kind of putting all sorts of things together. And then once you touch down wherever it is that you are, then you have to do that mental carry of what am I going to wear?
And it's so stressful, especially if you're on a trip.
Yeah, that's the last thing that I want to do. So with me, it's always been small little containers that we can kind of put certain objects in, and then
objects
and outfits separately from the objects.
Do you enjoy picking outfits? Because I know you appreciate fashion, style, design, but you're not like, you know, metrosexual, super into that industry.
Used to be. Yeah.
Yeah, it used to be.
It used to be really into what I was wearing. Right now, everything I'm wearing, you actually bought for me.
Yes. The Jordans, the snapbacks had to go.
Speaking of which, I have Jordans for sale, and if anyone's interested,
they will go into our
look
cabin
at me,
fund.
eBay. No, I'm just kidding. It's a different approach now. I still love to feel good, and I love coordinating with you. I think that's really cool when we match to a certain point. not too matchy,
like
but it's
compliment.
like exactly.
So that's my first thing.
Well, that's great.
It's
you.
a moment. I guess it's a series of moments that shaped our marriage. It's just you helping me pick out the clothes I'm gonna wear and not making me feel silly for caring.
I think, yeah, I'll go next. Travel was number one for me as well. You really pulled me out of the house and opened up this new love and passion, I guess, of going and seeing what the world has to offer. And after our wedding, we went to Africa. I think it kind of goes back into my mindset of being born in Uzbekistan and then immigrating to the U.S. when my family had $400 in their pockets, and my parents came here not knowing the language and just feeling alone, and we had to sleep with relatives for an extended period of time. But through all that, I think that also allowed me to live in a peaceful mindset. So when we got to Africa, I was really turned off by it because we arrived at 11:30 at night, and it was just the hustle and the bustle and the lack of light, and I was really nervous about that until the next morning when we woke up, and the hospitality just of the people themselves and the culture and the way that they live, that allowed me to see how people live in different parts of the world and their appreciation for the small things. And watching you just carry on like it was just nothing. You know, in my mind, I see everything as a potential risk or
danger,
and I'm always trying to find an exit. Having you by me allowed me just to take a deep breath and enjoy it. It was some of the best moments we've had an opportunity to experience together. Met an individual, Kishay, who little did he know how much impact he would have in our lives.
Our tour guide
he was
on our
tour
honeymoon.
Guide, and to this day, we reference him probably once a week.
Mm-hmm.
Again, wouldn't have that without you. Wouldn't have that without the ability to travel.
She's French. Can't speak. We did a whole honeymoon recap on our safari in Tanzania, going to Zanzibar. So we have a whole episode on that in case anybody is interested on what it was like to travel to Tanzania. But in your defense, I mean, we did get to Kilimanjaro late at night and it's really dark. And I've traveled enough that I've had these experiences. It doesn't matter where I land. It could be Los Angeles at midnight. Not a fun experience to get in that Uber. Try to get yourself from the airport to your Airbnb and not feel sketched out and out of place because it's just dark and you have to trust that your driver is taking you somewhere that is not dangerous. Yeah, I felt that from you, and I'm just glad that you trust me enough to go along with my little adventures.
The trust is very much there.
Can we? Okay, wait. I think this is the time that we get to tell people about you toppling down the stairs in Croatia.
Oh, fine.
You tell them.
There was no pain associated, but just the amount of embarrassment. I bought myself these really cool, I thought they were cool, New Balances that literally were twice the size in width than my actual foot. And I wanted to be the cool guy on the block, so I brought them with me to Croatia. And so we essentially just stayed in an Airbnb in a 3-story in Dubrovnik.
It's a 3-story flight of stairs that are
winding stairs. No elevator. Why would you? And so it was our final day and we were rushing out because the taxi was waiting for us. I said I was going to take the luggage downstairs. Yeah. I grab both luggages and I make my way down. And luggages got the wider side of the stairs, and Stan got the more narrow part with his big platypus feet and shoes. And so I'm making my way halfway down, and then I miss one of the steps, and I go toppling down. Rolling down, yes. And so at the same time, the cleaning lady's making her way up, and the next guests are making their way up the stairs as well. So I land, and I have 3 sets of eyes just looking over.
And your legs are like in the air.
My legs are in the air, and my wife is screaming from the 3rd floor.
So scared.
Are you okay? Are you all right?
Oh my God, I was terrified. I thought I was going to lose you, especially after your accident and then the chronic pain that ensued. And then this, I was so scared.
Yeah, I chuckled and I said, I'm fine. And then I limped my butt back upstairs because the taxi didn't come.
Oh no. Yeah, that was a good one. Okay, well, I actually have a favorite travel memory.
Mm.
And this is genuinely an experience that shaped my marriage to you. I don't know if it goes both ways, so we'll see once your POV is revealed. So another trip that we took together, we've been so lucky to travel a lot.
So lucky.
And some of the trips we've sought out, but I would say like half of them they were just lucky. So we get invited to a wedding in Colombia, a friend of a friend. Well, actually, no. A friend got invited to a wedding in Colombia. She said, I'm getting this giant Airbnb. Why don't you and Stan just hang out? I'm going to go to the wedding. You guys can chill. We're like, hell yeah. Like splitting an Airbnb in Colombia is so affordable, as were the flights. So we get there. We do get invited to this amazing wedding.
Fantastic. One of the most beautiful weddings.
Yeah. The bride said to my friend, she said, any friends of yours are friends of mine. Tell him to come to the wedding.
Colombian way.
Yeah, very Colombian of her. So she showed us a blast 4-day wedding. We were boating, catamaran, cocktail hours, brunching, like all of this was part of wedding festivities. And then we had planned toward the end before we leave to go to a national park in Colombia called Tayrona. It's toward the border of Venezuela. And I don't think we've told our listeners the story before, even though we've done podcasts. But the bride, the Colombian bride, who's, mind you, born and raised in Colombia, loves her country, she highly recommended this national park. She said, stay in Tayrona. It's the most beautiful, secluded beach in the whole wide world. You just got to get out there, and it's going to be like the most amazing, luxurious experience. And I implied luxurious only because this bride is like pretty into the finer things in life. So we thought it was going to be like, can't go wrong. Like she recommended it. So we get to this side of the country, and the next morning we decide to go out on a hike to one of these most beautiful beaches in the world that we saw on this bride's Instagram account. And as we're schlepping through mud and knowing that there are miles, many kilometers ahead of us to get to said beach, we see an offer of taking horses. Very emaciated, ethically questionable horses. PETA, please don't come after us. But this was in Colombia, and they're like really pushing this experience of taking horses to this beautiful beach. So we get on them, and it is the horse ride from hell for me. Mind you, the friend that we're with, she grew up on a farm. Her mom is like champion rodeo. She can stand up on a horse while the horse is moving and like take fun photos of her drinking champagne on top of a horse. Very familiar with horses. And even she said that this was one of the scariest experiences ever, because these horses were trekking and plowing through, I guess, rocks and ridges and geographic formations and like anything I've ever seen before, where there were like mini canyons. Do you remember those mini canyons? Narrow. We were literally looking at it and thinking that's a miniature sized version of the Grand Canyon. And somehow their hooves would like barely hang on, and they were bolting. And the guy, the horse tour leader, just kept like
whistling.
That's
all he did.
Yeah,
he
to get them to
whistled
go
and
faster.
He controlled them. Again, paint the picture, right? We were not prepared for this excursion by any means. I had
Stans and Birkenstocks.
And again, knee deep in...
Well, wait, we're getting there. We're not knee deep yet. Hold on.
Carry on.
Okay, so none of us are prepared for this. We have barely any water because nobody even told us that this was going to be a long hike. We thought you show up at Tayrona and the beach is right there. So we're in sandals, our phones with absolutely zero service. So we get on these horses. It is, would you say it's an hour? Like, I'm not exaggerating, right?
Yeah,
it was an hour.
Plus minus an hour, for sure.
On horses. And it was kind of like COVID, crawling out of COVID time. So luckily I had a mask in my purse because the horse manure smelled so badly. I couldn't, like, it was like nauseating. I'm not used to it. And then I'm just scared, like absolutely terrified. I remember my abdominal muscles being sore after the day after because just clenching and trying to keep yourself on the horse. I don't know. Were you as scared on the horse itself?
I am holding on for my dear life.
Okay.
Because through these narrow canyons, the horse is going probably at a 90-degree angle, and you have to pull yourself up.
Oh, yeah, because when
because they're going downwards and you have to go backwards.
Yeah.
So you're stabilizing and even distribution of weight.
Exactly.
Otherwise, front flip and you're done. And then another instance, right, we're galloping through, and then one of the horses, one of our partners that was with us decides to go a different direction and just gallops away, and then the whistler can't even call it back.
Yeah, and then the male horses are like competitive with each other, right? So they what do? They push and shove each other.
They bite each other.
And they do
then
this horseplay.
Kick back. Yeah.
And then it like sets off the other horses. And so then at any given moment, one of us is just trotting away real fast the other direction. The other one of us is crying in the back, screaming, "No bueno." That might have been me. And most of us are just like teeth clenching, like abs tight, trying to hold on to dear life on these horses. And so that's not even the worst part. Like, we're not even at the worst part yet, because we finally get to this beach, which I think we missed something. Till this day, I think we might have to go back because it's quite anticlimactic. Is the beach beautiful? Yes. I mean, it's a beach. But, you know, it's like tents, and like the only snack, there's like somebody selling a snack, is like Coca-Cola.
Yes, I remember the Coca-Cola.
And like pretty much nothing else. And there's like a lot of families with crying children, which is fine, but it wasn't just like the romantic, beautiful beach that we had envisioned for the two couples that signed up for this. So we're not even at the worst part yet. We kind of look at the beach and we're like, okay, and we're a little shook from the horses. And we told the guy with the horses that, yo, we're going to walk back. Like, we're not doing this again on our way back. Little did we know that he would instantly take his horses and leave. I guess our brains we had full on time blindness and didn't realize how far the horses took us. It didn't seem to click that we would have to walk those 5 miles back. Oh, this is what happened. We were like, oh, well, since a lot of people hike, like not everyone takes the horses, there must be a pedestrian trail. It's the same trail.
Same trail.
And the same trail is the same canyons
one way out,
that are filled with horse manure, mind you. I remember your Birkenstocks being completely, like, your feet were ankle deep in horse poo. We did eventually, like, maybe a third of the way, there was a pedestrian trail.
Yeah. Do you remember also the indigenous people that were there with the little ice cream?
Coconut ice cream that saved our lives, because we were about to eat each other.
Yeah, I was ready to call in, I don't know,
like a
air
satellite
support or something.
We also barely had any money because we were just going to the beach. Like, we didn't have pesos, nothing. We didn't have water, and none of us are speaking to each other.
Dead silence.
Me and my best friend aren't talking to each other. Me and my boyfriend aren't talking to each other. Nobody's talking to one another. Like, it is just a very silent, reflective, introspective hike back. And like right toward the end, the native people were selling the most amazing coconut ice cream I've ever had in my life. Like, it seemed like they just got that coconut and made it, because it was like raw coconut in the ice cream. Saved our lives. Then we get a pep in our step. Me and my friend, we're talking, we're chit-chatting, we're already making jokes about the experience, we're having fun, you know. But my boyfriend is still not speaking to me at all. He's still walking. You know, the ice cream didn't make him any kinder.
Because I had to share.
Well, because we had no money. We
It's
had
like one for 4 people. How we got it, I think we might have found a couple of pesos.
I honestly think the indigenous people are just really kind. They were seeing that we were struggling, that these like white tourists were not doing well.
Yeah.
Well, so my friend and I are doing a bit better, but you're still not saying anything. Luckily, when we get back to our hotel, they let us shower in their spa area because we're covered in poo and sweat and salty, breezy Colombian air. You know, once we had showered, again, I'm like, things are going to get better now. My boyfriend is going to talk to me. Still silent. It wasn't until we get into this cab. Stan sits in the front seat. We're like, let's put Stan in the front. He suffered the most. And then me, my friend, and her boyfriend are in the back. And we finally get out on a clear road. And you turn around. And this is like such a dramatic moment that me and my friend like recall it the exact same way. You turn around and you're like, wait, let me act it out. You turn around and you're like, that was the best experience ever. That was so cool. And you just start like describing it in a way that I'm not sure was fully factual.
I definitely shut down. I think that was like, okay, I need to soak this all in. Yeah, just hearing you describe it, I'm getting short breath. Yeah.
Okay, so you were tense.
Yeah, everything leading up to the cab ride back, I was like, yes, very tense.
Okay, so then what made you turn around? Because the reason why I wrote down this specific story, it's actually aside from just telling a funny travel story. For me, in that moment, I learned that you can feel like you really know someone. you can spend your life with someone and you still won't know everything about them. And coupled with that, it's important to let your partner have their own experience, because I have a tendency to check in, maybe even like a little codependence, like trying to micromanage. Are you okay? Are you good? I'm so sorry. Like, blame myself. Like, I can't believe, this was supposed to be a romantic trip. It turned out to be anything but that. And just like feel really guilty and bad, and then try to like manipulate your emotions into not hating me. And in that moment, because I had the strength of my friend by my side and like I was just ready to laugh about it, I was worried that you wouldn't be ready to laugh about it. And then you turned around and said the complete opposite of what I ever thought you could be thinking, in a way that I never thought you could interpret that experience ever in my life.
Wasn't that magical?
It was so magical.
The fact that you think you know someone, just like you said, and then lo and behold, they surprise you with something, whether it's a reaction or a thought. I'm glad that I had a chance to reflect on that, because I thought in the moment, I'm going to die, and why are we here? After the fact, I'm like, we survived that, and how cool was it that we just got on these horses with absolutely no waivers, no helmets, just get up and go. You never even question. They never even
asked if you've ridden a horse.
Or how to operate a horse, if that's,
let alone like an emaciated pony.
And that all in just kind of started going through my mind, and I'm like, I am here, so far away from home, just got to experience the most incredible and dangerous thing I've ever done, probably. And we lived through it, and let's go get some lunch, right? It's like one of those things. And in the moment, yeah, my feet were on fire. It was very uncomfortable, because you would get dirt, sand, rocks in between your feet, and you're just walking, right? Just like I told you about Tony Soprano. How does he get into a character? He puts a rock or stone, something in his foot, and he walks around and gets really angry. I was Tony Soprano in that moment.
Do your best impression.
Forget about it. Gabagool, give me the gabagool. I don't know.
Okay, so Stan's actually really good at impressions, like really good. It's a secret about him, but they only come out like I can't prompt them. Like that's the most you're gonna get, because it has to just be like straight natural from the heart, and then I almost have to like pretend like I didn't hear or see it. Like I can't make too big of a deal out of it, or else you get shy.
Yeah, one line goes into just a couple words. Otherwise, I can just keep that going.
They're so
Being
good.
Character.
You even do impressions of like our friends where you just talk exactly like them. It's wild.
It. Yeah, like a parrot.
Well, yeah, I think that's, for me, that was the moment that, you get a little grumpy. Like you're a bit grumpy, I think.
We all can be grumpy. Don't just put me out there.
True.
I'm just kidding. Yeah,
But that's the moment.
That's my relaxed face. Like
Yeah, you just like Zeus. Like you look at him and you think like, oh, this dog looks angry, but no, he's actually having a good time.
Oh my gosh, yeah. How similar are we? It's insane. You've been saying it for years, and I'm
he's your
just
soul dog.
Seeing it. I don't know. When I just got Zeus, he was quiet for 2 weeks, just sleeping. So I think those 2 weeks he was just like absorbing me, like with transferring of energies.
Yeah, but I think he was born your soul dog too.
He was born this way.
Yeah, he is so much like you, and so I just learned to like not attach or try to change your grumpiness and just any of your emotions, and like learn to just kind of take time, and like I know you'll come to me when you're ready. I just kind of have to take a little bit of a step back and not probe too much, or like ask you. Hate if I ask you if you're okay. Especially if I ask more than once.
Yeah. No comment, but yes, very much so. I think there's value there. And one of the books that came recommended when you and I were taking our trip to Italy is 101 Questions to Ask.
Oh God, he's going to bring up this book again.
I bring it up to anyone that's willing to listen, especially those that are in a relationship.
No.
I read the first 3 pages. That's all I needed to know. And from those 3 pages, I got enough questions for me to ask Mary at the time. One of the questions is going to be, after a long day of work, one of us comes home. How does the other one greet them? There's 2 options, which is you ask them right away, how was your day? What's going on? Or you give them a couple minutes to unwind And then once you're ready, then you can have this conversation.
Wait for them to come to you.
That is my answer. Yes.
That is not my answer. I need you to be like, tell me everything. I'm sat. I'm ready. How did you feel about it? What happened? Let's unpack.
And this, ladies and gentlemen, shows you that opposites can make it work.
Though not without our fair share of fights about exactly that.
Yes.
Like exactly that. Because you need a little bit of time. You need to... Oh God, I read this amazing quote. I still can't find it. I've been telling you about it for weeks. It was a funny marriage meme. And it was like, there's always one person in the relationship that needs to talk about things before they realize what they're thinking. Like they process their thoughts and feelings by talking about them. And there's always somebody else who needs to process internally their thoughts and feelings before talking about them. And those two people are bound to get married.
That is you and I.
That's 100% you and I.
I'm very much internal. You're very, 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 very much
external.
external.
You're pretty introverted. So I wanted to say this means a lot to me that you're recording this podcast, because I know talking like this isn't our daily occurrence.
Put a microphone in our face and it just keeps going and rolling.
And you even got a Tony Soprano impression. Like, wow.
Hey.
What an honor. Okay, what's your next one?
Speaking about Tony Soprano, I guess this is a segue. Counseling.
Okay.
Counseling, the core there was, I discovered growth and emotional maturity. And for me, another big moment for me was when we started seeing Michael, our counselor. Well, I love that guy, but more importantly, I love his man bun and his mustache. He is a fantastic human that can definitely rock a man bun, which I've never said before. And
the highest of compliments from
he
a Baldy.
is of Italian descent. So even more so, it's just like, I don't expect you to be our marriage/relationship counselor. But he has brought so much light into my world and into our relationship. And we started seeing him, was it before we got married?
When we were engaged.
Yeah. We wanted to get exposed to it. And I've been to a therapist in the past that hasn't really worked out for me, I guess I can say. So for me, I was very skeptical about it. And hearing your stories, because you've seen a number of therapists, and I knew that there has to be something there. And I'm willing to give it a shot because there's absolutely nothing that I can lose but everything to gain, right? I want to know my partner more. I want to know myself more. And I want to know about relationships more. So Michael allowed us to have the space to speak and allowed us to really dig deep. There was a shift for me, right? Instead of reacting, I started actually growing. It was that learning experience of patterns. And that's what Michael really pinpointed. And he took out a whiteboard. Remember that?
Yeah, I love the white. When the whiteboard comes out, you know it's going to be
I've
good.
never had a whiteboard presented to me. Unless it was in school and I was like, here we go.
About
What
like
is he
your
gonna write
deepest,
down?
darkest traumas.
I'm like, I didn't bring a notepad. Am I supposed to take notes here? No,
Yeah.
Michael did everything. And through just a very easy conversation, Stan, how do you feel? Draw an arrow. This is how you react.
It was a
and
cycle.
It was a cycle.
So it
Correct.
was
The arrows.
when Mary X, Stan
Stan.
tends to Y.
Yeah.
And then Mary leans more into X.
Z.
Z. And then Stan goes off the alphabet and into his own world.
Correct. And before that, I thought, this is just how I am. This is because I started realizing that there was a pattern for me as well, but I never knew what it was. It wasn't until Michael took the time to say, here's what it is. And then that just like a light switch just went off. And I'm like, okay, that makes sense because there's obviously something here that is repeating itself and there's a pattern. And now that we know the pattern, now we can adapt the tool that he showed us into the next time that we start arguing. And it wasn't as simple of as black and white, right? It takes some time to adapt, reflect, learn, adapt, reflect, learn, time after time, where it becomes...
Well, wait, you forgot the part where you slip back into your pattern and then hate each other and come back to couples therapy super grumpy.
Well, that's the thing.
Yeah.
It happens, maybe less often, but nevertheless, it's something that, again, you're bringing two people into a relationship from two opposite sides of the world, two people who have different mindsets, different emotions, just built differently, but are trying to make it work. And so it can happen. It'll happen. It's inevitable, I think. But instead of a week of silence, we'll go a day or an hour or 10 minutes, right? So
We used to do, for transparency, we used to do a week of silence. Michael helped us break out of that.
it happened once, yeah.
Okay.
A quiet desert. So that was my number 2. Counseling. I am so for it. I am an activist for it. I even recommend it to some of my guy friends that are battling their own demons and relationship issues. So
Oh, you made me miss Michael. Maybe we should book a session. I know we're doing good, but we should just like
to
check
see
in.
him.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's been a
he's
minute.
not. He doesn't.
He doesn't let
He doesn't
us.
do conversations. Like
Yeah.
he doesn't want to know anything. You came here to work, so let's kind of dive into it.
Yeah. Do you remember when we brought him a bottle of non-alcoholic sparkling green tea?
Yeah.
And we put it in like a cute bag, you know, it's like from Trader Joe's, nothing crazy. And we said, Happy holidays, Happy New Year, whatever. And he was so flustered by it. He was like, I can't accept this. Is it more than $50? And we
it
were
was
like,
$24.
yeah. And we were like, I mean, no, it's not more than. He goes, no, it looks a lot more expensive. Like, I really can't accept this. Like, per the board code of therapists, whatever, I can't accept gifts more than $50. And we're like, Michael, it was like $5. Like, relax. And he has really good boundaries, which is a problem that I had with my own personal therapist and why we parted ways. It just started becoming, it went from like being just weekly vent sessions for me to she actually started like sharing a lot about her life and her problems. So then the therapeutic role just was, the waters got murkier. And so I had to part ways with her, but Michael is consistently so boundaried and he doesn't let us get caught up in the minutia. So we can tell him about like what started a fight, for example, but then he'll pull out the whiteboard and he'll draw out the pattern, not the details of, you know, the who, what, where. And I think some of the best conversations are that way, where you go beyond the what happened and more into like the why.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mary has this game that she loves to play, one of many games, and the game is Time to Say. And Time to Say is at one point during the day, she'll come over and she'll say, okay, babe, it's time to say. And so you have to say one thing that you love about her. And
not you, but my husband.
Yes, I have to say one thing that I absolutely love about my wife. And there's so many. So
the best part is when you do it during the most like inconvenient moment possible. It's an art and a craft to time the playing of the game.
And so we were at Michael's office and I said, you know, Mary has this game that we love to play. I invite you to practice it with some other patients. He looks over at me, just doesn't miss a beat and says, thank you for the invitation, and goes back into the session.
Just like moves on.
And just carries on to the next thing.
Yeah.
So I love him. I love the counseling and I love how far we've come. But watching our show last night, they live for that.
Shrinking.
They live for
Are
that
y'all
darkness.
watching Shrinking?
Shrinking is phenomenal.
It's probably the best show ever made.
Yeah. Well done.
Best
so
comedy
well done.
ever made. I've never seen Stan laugh out loud at a show.
The first episode, fantastic, of the new season. It's an hour and a half, I think, and it's just pure gold.
It's so good. They wrote that so well. Yeah, Shrinking is actually if you're like scared of therapy or if your partner's scared of therapy, I would say Shrinking is like a really good starting point.
Good point.
Yeah. So my third thing, or is this my fourth thing? I think this is my fourth thing.
This is going to be your third.
Are you sure? Because I told you about 1.5. Oh, this is going to be my third.
The 1.5.
Okay, so I'll go a little real, and then we'll leave it off on a lighter note. Okay. One of my like big moments for me, and it's like so cliche, I am disgusted by what I'm about to say preemptively. It's when you met my dad. You know, being a girl and you're like, oh, my, husband met my dad. It's just like not what I exactly want to be talking about, but it's the realest thing I could come up with because my dad is such a like complicated person. I'm sorry, I can't look at you when I say this. He's just like a complicated character that's brought so much pain into my life in a way that is so challenging to explain. He's such an enigma. I, in some ways, know so much about him, and in other ways know nothing, because he's just been in my life, out of my life. When he's in my life, it's like very emotional. He's like very intense. He gives me all these lectures about World War II, and we talk about feelings for hours on end, but then he ghosts me for like years. And this has happened all throughout my life. And on top of that, he lives in Russia. He's like a diehard communist. There's just like a lot of complicated cultural, religious, like all my religious trauma happened with them. There's so much complexity there that I never thought, and sorry to break this to you, but I have had a boyfriend meet my dad before.
Oh my God.
And it wasn't a bad experience. Like it was fine. And I mean, of
Where,
course.
in Moscow?
No, he still lived in California, like before he moved back to Russia.
I see. We'll talk about this later.
Even though that wasn't an unpleasant experience, it's like, of course, there was a language barrier, and you speak Russian, but beyond that, you just accept everyone for how they are. And even though you know some of the worst things that my father has like done to me or like put me through, you still received him with open arms when we spent those 48 hours with him. Anytime we got on the phone with him, you're so respectful. He is just so weird that you're really good at like not letting me cry about the weird, but instead we laugh about the weird. You know, like when we were spending time with him, one of my dad's big things, and something I have mixed feelings about, is that he filmed my whole life. Like he had so many video cameras. That's something he invested all his money in, was like filming me growing up as a kid. So there's apparently all this footage. I haven't seen it, but he was always filming my childhood. He had one camera in each hand, like literally a 2-camera setup with a human tripod. It was always holding cameras. And so he showed up to meet Stan in Moscow. And obviously this was many, many years ago. This was like 2019, before everything that's happened. So he has like a plastic bag filled with like wires from the cameras, chargers, batteries, a banana, like one banana to hold him over for the long train ride to meet us, right? He's wearing a bright red jacket, a really weird hat that like sticks up very high. And so that just energy of him just being like so like embarrassing, cringy to me, because he doesn't know how to behave in public. And one thing he does, this is so weird, I might cut this out later, but one thing he does is that he has his cameras out at all times in public spaces, because he's mostly filming me, but he's also, you know, a cinematographer trying to capture the ambiance. And so sometimes like other people get in this footage, and I'm so weird about that, because I'm like, there are like mothers with their children like hanging out in this public space, like a plaza or whatever. Like, Dad, you can't just be holding up 2 cameras in their faces. Like, I don't care if you're not trying, you know what I mean? So I'm just like so weird about that specifically, but somehow you were able to like rewire my brain through the many jokes that we've made about that experience, that my dad's like 2-camera setup and his weird jacket and funky hat and plastic bag around his arm, walking all around like the ritziest parts of Moscow is like the most endearing thing in the world. And so now I'm able to just kind of see it that way, as it's like a little bit more precious to me and a little less embarrassing.
Yeah. 2-camera Alex. That was the street name we gave him. No, I remember, I think for me, it was just understanding where he's coming from, which is his only daughter lives in a different country, and he's trying to capture every single moment. At least that's what I told myself, and I believe it, truly. Parents are strange in their own ways. We had a great time, and I thought you were going to share the story of the ice cream your father
Tell it. Take it away.
hunted down for us. My
dad also has, I should do a separate episode on this, but my dad also has a really strained relationship with food that comes from just like growing up in poverty.
Yeah.
And so he was a severe binge eater my whole life. Like I watched him binge.
Yeah.
And Stan
No
got
food
to
goes
see
to
that.
waste by any means.
Yeah.
So her father thought, again, December in Moscow, freezing weather. The first place we go is into one of the largest shopping malls I've ever seen in my life. Not to stop and shop around, but
No.
he had one objective, which is to get us to the 5th floor where they
have an ice cream factory.
They have an ice cream factory. And they give out quite a bit of samples. And your dad made it a priority to grab as many samples, one in each
Wasn't it
hand.
like one entrance fee and then it's all you can eat ice cream?
I think that was the chocolate factory that he took us to
which-
as well. And that is where we stuffed our faces with all sorts of
Oh my God.
quality Russian fudge.
Oh God. They're not really known for their cocoa.
Definitely not.
Does it grow in Siberia?
I don't know where they get it from,
No,
but
the
again,
cocoa bean does not.
precious moments, to say the least.
Well, so he had one ice cream in each hand, and then we were like, okay, we've had our own ice cream already because we had
We've
ice
had
cream
2
earlier
each
that day.
already.
Yeah, and so then he was like, well, just hold mine. So we were each
So
holding.
I can go get more.
Yeah. So between, like, because there's 3 of us and each human has 2 hands, there were 6 ice cream cones total for my dad to gobble up. Oh, and again, for me, that's like, you and I were only dating for 6 months when you had met him, when we like went all the way to Russia to see him. There's other things that we might have wanted to see aside from a kid's, candy factory at the top of a mall. But
The Red Square was gorgeous.
and Lenin's body. No,
Still
okay,
there.
Too far.
Still there.
Too far. Okay. Before we get someplace of no return, why don't you share your thing?
I'll take it away from here. Not too long ago, I think it's been over 6 months now since my father had open heart surgery. And it was a shock to everyone in the family that my father, such a strong individual who was always active, grew up playing sports, a master automotive mechanic, has heart disease. There were no advanced symptoms, I guess, up until maybe a couple of days before we admitted him to the hospital, where they told him that his calcium level is just through the roof. Like, I think average was 65 for a person of his age. He had 665, so major blockage. And so they said that they were going to do a simple stent. He'll be in and out in just a few hours. So we were very optimistic for that. We waited. You were there. I love you so much for being a part of that and standing by my side and being there for myself and for Dad. You are an incredibly strong woman. Certain moments where I couldn't handle it anymore, I had to walk away. You stood by him. But leading up to that, the stent was a no-show, or a no-go, I should say, because they attempted it, and then once they went in, they said there was just too much blockage. They rolled him back out, and they gave the family the news that we need to go in there and open him up and do a double bypass, which is a pretty serious operation, but a common one. And so, shock to everyone, and my father kind of just winged it and said, let's just get it over with. I don't think he realized how invasive that surgery is, or how much of a
Surgery
it is, and let alone the recovery time, how strenuous it would be. And that was one of the hardest times for me, is seeing my father with all sorts of tubes and wires coming in and out of his body and liquid coming out of his body. That was graphic, to say the least. And following that, having family come in and out really showed me how important it is to have family, have friends, whether they're calling, visiting, sending food, spending the night. All that is so valuable. And the person next door to him, who was a little bit older but had no visitors, no family, no phone calls.
And then, like, was it like 5 or 6 days in that we finally saw somebody showed up?
His own son came in
Days later,
when he was already
looking good and cracking jokes.
Recovered and joking with the nurses. It's just something so foreign to me. There was a point in my life where I moved out and moved across the country, far away from my family. And my grandfather at the time was really ill, really sick, and I got a phone call from my cousin saying, "Hey, Grandpa is unfortunately on his deathbed. You might want to come back to Phoenix." And I did. And during that, he passed away. And then I had a moment of reflection, which was, I don't want to have to come back and see my family on the days where someone is passing away. And so I ended up moving back to Phoenix. But even in the show, just watching it last night, that sparked this like instant memory where I felt like I was back in the hospital, and then you were right beside me. And last night I look over, you were beside me as well. So I love you so much for that.
In Shrinking, they really have their like chosen family around everybody. So even though they have strained relationship, I mean, we don't know what we don't know about that gentleman. He could be like the worst person we've ever met, and there's a reason why his kids don't come see him in the hospital.
Yeah, outside of his personal life, it's just a moment where you get to reflect and say, if I'm ever in this position, in this place, I want to make sure that I have the option of calling friends, family. People care. So our relationship is very valuable to me. Invaluable, I guess you can say. There's nothing I would trade it for.
That was really pivotal. All those nights at the hospital and doing the shifts. I think it was definitely a little taste of like what raising a child, like a newborn, is like, where you do shifts so one person can sleep and the other person is caretaking. And then your dad moving in with us and just having family, like it was an open revolving door. And
he's so annoying
because it's your family.
We made a joke. I think, this happened during the summertime, some of the hottest days in Phoenix, and the summer just flew by because we were
in
ice
the cold hospital. I was wearing
in
like
the
a
hospital
crew neck.
with sweaters and hats.
I told
right?
Stan, I was like, I know this is like messed up to say, but like I'm kind of glad that I got to wear like a cozy sweater in the middle of July. That was cool. That we just like we're like so steady. I think we do thrive in chaos.
Yeah,
we really do thrive in chaos. Time and time again, we've had like some fucked up shit happen, and we're always like, and we lock in.
I that's funny you should say that, because I noticed you had that early on in our relationship, before we got engaged, before we got married. Is a heartbreaking story with Zeus. When I was in the garage and I had the garage door open and I had the side garage door open and then I had the entryway to the house open, and Zeus was laying, half his body was, well, most of his body was in the garage and his tail was inside the house. And then a gust of wind picked up and it closed the door right on the edge at the tip of his tail. And that poor little guy was about an inch. So he got up, whelped, and he's just...
It was such a freak accident, but I was here in my office, which borders the garage.
Yeah.
So I heard like a scream from Zeus, and then the door slam. And I'm like, what the fuck happened? And I run out and I see a piece of his tail. Yeah. This is pretty gruesome, but I see a piece of his tail, and then I see you holding the dog who's like squirting blood out of his tail, which is it's an extension of their spine, right?
It is.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Ugh.
We pulled it together very quickly, put pressure on the wound, took the little tail with us just in case they needed to see it. Ran over to the emergency vet, which is thankfully down the street, and he's just wagging his tail. He's hanging out, so he got a little
his
bit
adrenaline
of
kicked in.
A little bit of blood going here and there and here and there.
And it's mid-COVID, so we were doing that one at a time thing again too. We like get the dog out, one person checks them in.
Yeah. But in the moment, I mean, what we did is came together. The problem was at hand, and we just kept moving forward. And I think that's so important.
Yeah, same with you. I was very impressed with the way you handled yourself. We're very aligned in that way. We're very aligned financially. One of my favorite influencers, Becca Martinez, just gonna shout out.
What up?
What up, Becca? I love you. She posted that, her and her husband have problems, but the one thing they don't fight about is money, and like what a blessing that is.
Yeah, who doesn't have problems first and foremost, right?
Yeah. But I think that's like one of my big triggers, because that's like the whole reason my parents divorced, and then my mom divorced again, and then again, was like money. So yeah. So I'm really glad that we have similar spending and saving and even investing habits, and like we know what we value. So that kind of, it's not it's a bit related to
4.5.
The last thing. Do I close? Is this my closing point?
Yeah, I'm maxed out here.
Okay, same, and I'm kind of hot.
Yeah, you are.
So this is not like a shaping moment necessarily. This is just something I like about you. And I don't know if this will always be the case, but I do love that you've never really said no to me. I can't think of anything that I've suggested or proposed that you've vetoed completely or said no or like shut me down or like didn't entertain or like hear. And I wrote down just some ideas like our wedding. Like, again, I'm very particular about not just aesthetics, but like intention and how I envision a gathering, because that comes from retreats, like travels, trips, building a van, because you knew how important it was for me to travel. And then during COVID, we couldn't do that. So like, what did he do? He bought a Sprinter van and then completely
we went in partnerships. So
Yeah.
remember that. It wasn't just audience listening. It's not like stand left and right money. No, we decided.
That's true. I bought the van.
Yeah, she bought the van, and then I would front the money for renovating it and building it. Right. So essentially, I put the plan together. This is the cost. This is the repairs. It's the same amount of money you're putting in. I'll match it, and then we can sell it for this much money. So again, like.
Was that your idea? Are you saying that was your idea? I feel like that was my idea.
No, I think it was your idea, but then I saw it at the auction because I buy and sell cars on the side as well at the auction. And I was like, babe, there's this great deal and I think we can get it. And you're like, okay, I'm in.
So, okay, would you say the same thing? Like, have I ever said no to you?
I don't think we say no to each other.
Yeah.
And the reason why is that when we have something, I don't know, something in hand, right? We know the person thought about it from every angle. Mm-hmm. And it's just not something that you pulled out without giving any thought to it. And I'm the same way. Like, I have a tendency to think about something from every single angle. You're very much the same way, where you go into something and you think about where can it take us? Where will I end up? And reverse engineering it in a sense.
We really like trust each other, I think, on important issues, just like you trusted me with some of the trips that I planned, redecorating, wedding. I wrote down cabin. But even if it's like something as trivial as making like a little TikTok, you will put on my dress and cover yourself in shaving cream and do a sexy dance.
Never did that.
Yes, he has.
Do not pull it up, anyone. It's nowhere to be found.
You can scroll all the way down to March of 2020 when shit was weird, and you could probably find it if you really wanted to. Or even like recording a podcast like this. Like, I guess I have so many married friends, like specifically friends married to men, and men in general, I feel like with their women, there's this kind of like trope or shtick, or like, I don't know if it's how much of it is real and how much of it is jokey, but sometimes it's hard to decipher, where they're just constantly like saying no.
It can be that way. I can see it. If it's not my idea, I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
Or I'm going to push back, because saying no is easier and saying yes can be vulnerable, depending if you're going to wear a dress or not. I don't know.
Okay, but also you've put on my clothes like
no, I don't.
A few times.
Sweatpants is one thing.
No, but you've like worn my short, teeny tiny booty shorts. He always puts on my clothes to make me laugh.
Fatty, what can I say?
And then you'll start dancing to Dua Lipa, and it's the best.
If you want to, I don't know what that was.
So sexy. That was Dua Lipa. Like, I'm so impressed right now. I'm actually so impressed right now. I'm enthralled. Okay, we should hang up and then go like hang out, because I'm turned on. Okay, well, I guess my concluding statement is, somebody on my Instagram asked, like, how has marriage changed you, shaped you? And I think we answered that in our last episode together when we were only married for a year. My update to that, though, is like, I thought marriage, because of my past, my mom being married a bunch, my dad being a complete recluse and never letting anybody in after my mom. I thought marriage, the commitment of it, would make me anxious, but it's actually brought me so much peace and calm, because it's like the one thing I made a decision on, I'm certain about it, I'm committed to it, and then everything else just kind of shapes around it. And I love that feeling, which is pleasantly surprising to me, because I thought it would be harder. Mm-hmm. You know, I really did. Everybody says like marriage is so hard, and like it's not easy, But I don't think hard is the right word. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think it should be hard. And it's reassuring that you and I have something super special and unfortunately rare. I love seeing couples speak highly of themselves, their relationship, of their partner especially. It's a beautiful thing. And
oh my God, I will not hang out with people who talk shit about their partners.
yeah, I called out a buddy of mine recently who spoke very ill of his wife and then got on the phone and proceeded to speak very disrespectfully. And I pulled over the car and I said, dude, that's not how it's done. Don't talk to her like that in front of me. I'm surprised that you even talk to her that way. And he said that was a pivotal moment for him and his relationship, and thanked me that I was the only friend who ever took initiative to call him out on his crap.
Wow. Yeah, I agree. And I mean, I'm not like completely against divorce. I mean, of course, in so many circumstances, that's like the best option.
Sure.
Like for your friend,
Valid.
for example,
Yeah.
we are probably of the opinion that they would both be better off if they like separated. But overall, I deeply revere the sanctity of marriage. And I love it. I do. I love it with you. I'll put it that way. I love it with you.
I love you. 3 years married.
3 years married, 7 years together, which is a big deal because they say like your cells regenerate every 7 years and you are a totally different person. And so I'm like, wow, like I'm no longer the 21-year-old that met this guy and was completely infatuated by him. I'm now like 28, more mature. We're building something super real. And yet I'm still completely infatuated by him.
Infatuated. Thank you. I was waiting for that.
Love you, babe.
I love you too.